kiddos. Well, Mr. Henry decided he's going to try and do something, so we're going to do twofer. Trying to get us a raised flower bed, a greenhouse, and I'm going to try to make a YouTube video. So here's what we're looking at. See if you can see this. This is the plan for a greenhouse. As always, follow your instructions. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to piece a greenhouse together to find out, to make sure our dimensions fit exactly the way we want it to on top of a greenhouse. So let's see what kind of trouble we can get into. All right, I'm bringing you over here so you can see what's all in this box. As we look, we can see that we have our greenhouse tarp. We're going to move that out the way. And now we got a bunch of poles. So here's the deal. You don't want to watch me unpack this thing, so I'm going to get it laid out by parts, and then we'll come right back to it. All right, here we go. I've laid out the poles. Like any good teacher or student, I suppose, I made sure to look closely. And if you just got to laying these things down, you're liable to mix up and have to start this thing over. As I come down here, right, I can see there's a number 2 and there's a number 1. And even though these things look the same, if you flip it over here, the ends look exactly the same. But if I go down here at the bottom of the curve, I'll see that these are smooth and this one is inset a little bit. That's because they're going to fit into each other. So please make sure that you pay close attention to that. And that's not the only thing that we noticed. If we come over here, if we look, these are number 4 pole. Right? This end, you got 1 brace. Whereas when we get over here to this side, you're going to end up with 2 braces. Again, all this boils down to, are you paying close attention to what these things are? Nothing worse than mixing this stuff up and then having to go back, take things apart, and redo it. All right, and the last one we're going to look at, if I get out my own way, again, these poles look the same length, but once I get down here, these are set in a little bit so that they can fit inside of something more similar to this. And if you look on the ends of these, all right, let's see if we can get there. There we go. Again, no one wants to go back over and restart. So now that we got it laid out, let's piece this thing together. All right, as you can see here, I've laid this thing out kind of like a big skeleton of things. And looking at the instructions, you're gonna see we have some screws that fit into this pipe. Now, here's the problem with these. This is supposed to be a little thicker so they'll stop as you screw it in, and that is not the case. So what we're going to do is just be mindful as we put that in there and see if we can keep from messing something up. Now, as you work on things like this, now I could probably put some tape on this, but whenever you buy something cheap like this, because you know Mr. Henry likes to go cheap, you want to make sure that you do not cross thread these. Being as cheap as they are, it's not going to last very long. So we tighten this down about like so, and we'll go from there. All right, take 3. So here's what we're looking at here. We're at the part where we're going to do the top ridge of this because the arcs look cool. 2 things that we've seen. One, my little screws here, and I'll show you one of those in person. In the diagram, they look like they're thicker in the middle, but in actuality, they're not. And as you screw these in, they're not going to stop. So I was having some issues with that, and then the wind's blowing up here. You probably hear it in the sound, and it knocked over my camera. So here we go. We're gonna go round 3. Third time's the charm. All right, if you're looking at this thing, you can see I've laid out some wood next to it. We are going to set this cage on top of these 2x10s, right, and we're going to anchor it down. And I'll show you what that looks like, or what my plan is. Get you set up here. Now, we're going to put the bottom of this pole into this board. Now, I would love for it to run flush and smooth, but that would put us here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to set this back, and I'll tie in the board there. There'll be a little bit of a lip, but not enough to matter. That's also going to give me some support for this as it sets inside of this wood. Now, the distance I'm going to give myself right here is about 1.5 inches. The reason for that is these are 2x10s, but that is not 2 inches wide. All right, a little fun trick, you can take the end of your finger here, about the size of a quarter. You can put that down, and you can see that that's about 1 inch with a little extra. These are about 1.5 inches wide, and that's why I'm going to give myself 1.5 inches space here, but I got to pick which side's going to be the cut side. So looking at this end, it's got a tag. Moving over here to this side, no tag. And if there's no busted or split, there's a little groove here, but not enough to matter. If it's not busted or split, I just like cutting it out because, well, I just don't feel like pulling a staple. I'm going to use that extra piece for bracing. So let's get this thing measured out. Got my daughter and my son here. Introduce yourselves.
My name is Annabelle Lee Henry. And this is my step brother. He's Bo Tiberius Henry.
Little brother. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Brought out the big tools. Now, here's where I need your muscle. Come here, muscles. try 80 inches now. Looking at her board, there's a knot down here that I would like to cut out. What we'll do is we'll take our trusty pin, go to 80 inches, mark our board, and line it off. Squares down the garage, not going to get there. Go, 80 inches.
Mommy, I didn't see it. It was an accident.
Wasn't an accident. Cut time. Now, children, do not try this at home. Fun little tip that I like to tie this and then plug in. That way you don't unplug your cord whenever you draw too much slack. Right-handed, move around the back. Keep the cord out of the way. No one wants to cut a cord while they're sawing. All right, B-Man, gonna get loud. Are you ready? Get set. Go. Do what? You'll slow down doing that. Well, you got one more, B-Man. All right, now looking at this one, because I'm going to have to cut, I might as well cut these knots out, and I got some staples here. So we're going to go ahead and mark that off.
Thank you, Annabelle.
Okay.
And we're going to do this the easy way.
Okay, good.
Line up the lumber. And we got ourselves a line. Things to consider. When I draw that line, this has a depth. So when I cut this thing, I'm going to cut on the inside of that line, and I'll make sure it's the same length. All right, B-Man, one more round. You ready? Get set.
Go.
I would.
Go.
All right, I'm going. All right, now we're to the point that we're going to start connecting these. We had the bottom bowed a little bit, so we're going to take our 80 and we're going to have an 80 to the outside. Now what I want to do is I want to get these things flush. We're going to have a little bow in our greenhouse, and that doesn't hurt my feelings. We're going to get more ground space out of it. So, all right, I have these deck screws that should hold her in place. You got to wait. Daddy will help you with the fishies. All right, now we're going to drive this in. Get it started. Now, when I get near the end, I want to push this board out so that it is flush. I want it flush on the top and the side. Once I get there, and I'm going to countersink. Countersink means we drive it in just a little bit further. And as you can see right here at the bottom, right, we're over a little bit. So what I'm going to do, push that back in. Actually, I'm going to do it on the other side. We're going to push that back in, level up, put a screw in it. The easiest way to do that is get one started, right, and let it pull itself. Now that we're almost there, we'll pick up on it. Oops. Put us forward.
Your foot's on it, Daddy.
Yeah. Let's get us a little leverage in here. There we go. Got her flush. Good enough for government work. And there we go. We'll do one more.
I gotta hold Daddy's thing.
Because I lock it in threes, don't shake it. And there we go. There's 1/4. Now All right, now we're going back to the beginning where you should start, all right, and that is finding a spot for your greenhouse. Now, there's not a flat place anywhere on our property that this will fit that isn't in the way. So what I did is I put it in the flatter place I could get with the sun in mind. Now, if you look here, we have a long way to go to get this level. So there's going to be some digging done. No one wants to watch all that, so I'll record that. But there are some things I want to talk about. One, and I hope I don't blind you with this. If you look over here, right over there, there's where the sun comes up. And it comes up through the sky. Boom, right, way too bright. And then we'll come right, and it'll set over here. Now, there's the sun just to flash in the camera. Don't look directly into it. But as winter comes, it will go lower in the sky, if I'm not mistaken. So we wanted to make sure we got sunlight. And if you look, we get trees over here, trees over here, trees over here, trees over there. But we have an open area here. And this will still let some light shine into our greenhouse. So that's one of the best places we could find. Unfortunately, it's not flat. So now I get to do some digging. And we'll look at how that levels up here in a little bit. All right, after some southern ingenuity, I believe I got this thing level. Now, for those that don't know, this is a level. Now we're gonna put this thing down. We hope it works out for video. And you'll see this little tube right here. You won't be able to see it. But you're trying to get the bubble in between the two lines, all right? And we're good that way. So let me show you how this works. Just see if you can see this. Right there's the bubble. As you tilt this, it'll go up and down. And we want that to be right so. And we were. So we are level around this thing. So let's walk you around and show you. And then tomorrow we get dirt. Ooh, there's some of that southern ingenuity. Nice Appalachian look to it. That'll be all right. When we go back and we get some dirt to fill this, we'll go along this little edge right here. We'll fill it up. You won't even see it. It'll be a slope as pretty as it can be. What I was going to show you earlier, let me see if I can get my tape measure. Gotta walk with me here. We're going back toward the porch. All right. Now, if you have a square, it's great. You check, you see if it's a 90 degree, all is well in the world. But if you don't, we're going to use Pythagorean's theorem. And I know you're saying, like, what? Pythagorean's theorem. So we're going to come down here. We're going to mark this thing off at 4 foot. 4 foot. 4 foot on the mark. Now, down there, there's a line. So that's my reference point. So I'm looking at that line. There's 4 foot. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to go 3 foot. So 3 foot on the mark. Coming over here. One more time. That's a leg of 3, a leg of 4. I'm going to come over here to this notch. That knot right there. And I'm going to pull this. So I go to that reference mark earlier. And I come down here, find my knot, and it should be right around 5 foot. And as you see, we're at 5 foot. Now, Pythagorean's theorem is leg A. Let me get you turned around here. Get a pretty view of everything. And I know you don't care, but I'm a math teacher and it bothers me not to know. So you take the 2 short sides, that's leg A and B, and you square both of them. So 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, put them together, you get 25. The square root of 25 is 5. So you got 3, 4, 5, you can do it in multiples. What I really think is cool is, I knew that as Pythagorean's theorem. My brother's in construction, he's a framer, and we were building my dad's porch. We were talking about that, he's like, oh, you just used the 3, 4, 5 rule. I was like, the what? And he explained it, and I was like, oh, that's Pythagorean theorem. And that's geeky me with hardworking him figuring out, hey, there's ways people use this every day. So this is it. Tomorrow we'll get some dirt, we'll fill it in, we'll let you see what it looked like then, and we'll be done with this video. Till then.
Wait, is it on?
Yep.
Day 2 of the building of a greenhouse. We got some dirt to put in the platform. I think you have to get a certain type. I'm not exactly
We got planter's dirt, which is a mixture of topsoil, some conditioner, and sand. Instead of picking up some bags at Home Depot or Lowe's, we went down to Jackie Evans Trucking, got us a scoop and a half of it, and now we're going to unload it. I rented the truck from Home Depot, so we're on the clock, so we're going to make this quick.
And I'm going to help.
We're going to put some
and don't forget
garden
to put
fabric.
in.
Yeah, garden fabric,
Yep.
and we'll come back when this is done.
Wait 1 second.
All right, well, had a little mishap. Got the truck unloaded, and I need a little more dirt. So went and got that dirt, dumped it in. Now it's time to level this thing out. We'll get that done, and then we'll pop back in. All right, we got this thing leveled out. We'll go ahead and show you that. Good enough for government work. Anyhow, that is our greenhouse. Once we get the cover on there, maybe get some vegetables in there, we'll add a little update video, attach it to the end of this one. And yeah, hope you enjoyed.